Okay, so Calvin and I are here today. We wanted to talk about something that we've kind of been talking about, like just in general, which is finding the balance between,
Jargon, I guess, and actual terminology when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah. So this is more relevant, I think, for you. You go to locals and like
Yeah, I go
tournaments
to
more
levels a lot.
often. You've been judging sometimes. Break it down. What's the thing?
I don't know if it's just like I guess from how long I've been playing to where new terms are made to mean the same thing when we already have quote unquote terms for it or meanings for it. And I'm just like at the point now. Maybe I'm just the old angry guy, but I'm just like, why do we have it or why does it exist?
Like, what's an example of like, are you thinking like players who say, like a mulligan, like there's one that I've heard. It's like mulligans don't exist in Yu-Gi-Oh,
No,
right?
it's not a thing.
It's not like a game mechanic, but I've heard a lot of players when they activate maybe Saryuya or like even like what's that one? Link Devotee, like those types of
Yeah.
cards, Tri Brigade, Farragut. Like I've heard people say like, oh, I'm mulliganing a card. Like they'll kind of say it as though it's like what the card does. Like it mulligans a card, but like mulliganing isn't something you can really do. And people will say these terms and they understand what they mean, and maybe
But I'm
like
at the point now, like, see, yeah, I just rather you say, like, I'm for the draw four, and then I'm gonna put three back.
yeah, because they're not. So
Like,
what you're upset, they're not like saying things as they're supposed to actually be happening. Like they're not
yeah,
being accurate to the cards. They're kind of using jargon.
it's like it's more of like a new, cool, hippie way to say stuff or something like that. I'm just like, bro,
Yeah,
just say what the card is
there's
doing.
there's like age old ones. Spell speed 4.
Yeah, because
That
you
that
can't
comes up a
respond
lot.
to it. That's what
Yeah,
they was talking about for like super power and
yeah,
stuff.
super poly. I mean, but they were using that. Here's what I've never liked about spell speed 4. That's like these whole concepts that people will say. It's one thing when it's used for super poly because like it's kind of chainable or whatever. But like when people say it for like cards like Night Beam, which is like a normal spell, but I've heard people say like, oh yeah, like Night Beam spell speed 4, you can't chain to it, and I don't like that because, and you guys who are watching probably know most of this, but like that's such a misrepresentation
What's actually
of
going
what's
on?
going on
Yeah.
that, but like you'll hear so like okay in a Night Beam example, right? Night Beam is it's just a normal spell. So it's spell speed 1 first of all, and all it says is that the targeted
The
card can't
target
be like
card.
activated in response to Night Beam. That's all it says. Other cards can work, and also the targeted card can be used in response to the other cards. There's no like spell speed 4 attached.
For Yu-Gi-Oh players, it's considered a spell speed four.
Yeah, and like
So
obviously like Super Poly comes to mind. It's like, oh, you can't change it. That's mean spell speed 4. But I mean, it isn't. It's not even spell speed 3. There's no spell speed involved in the clause that you can't chain to stuff. So people will say this stuff, and I'm just like, I think it causes a lot of confusion for newer players because they'll come to locals and hear these terms.
not really know
Yeah, they
what
don't
they
really
mean.
even know what's happening, and then they turn around and use them with like their friends and like more people.
And then once their friends have it, they don't actually have a whole understanding of. So now you got your whole locals mad at new players
Because
for
you know
just
these
saying
dumb
stuff. Yeah,
players
and they
don't
don't
know
know
things.
what they're talking about.
Have you ever played the game Telestrations?
I've never.
Or like like
What's
or in school like that game where like I whisper something in your ear and you
Oh
whisper it
yeah,
to
they
your
got
neighbor and then like
reflexes.
at the end you see where it became.
Yeah,
It's like that where like there's players at a local at almost any Yu-Gi-Oh locals who do understand the rules to a T and they completely get it and they're playing, but they maybe use a few bits of jargon and then like that gets passed along and it gets passed down the ladder and then eventually you've got people who really don't know what they're hearing and then they're telling their friends who really don't know what they're hearing, and by the time it's reached the end you get these hard just very generalized statements like this card's just spell speed 4 or what's another one, inherent summons.
Inherent summons.
Inherent summons, that's been, I never knew what where that even.
Like again, I don't claim to be like the best Yu-Gi-Oh player. I've just gotten to the judge scene, so I've been seeing more and more things, and it's just like the game is so honestly is a very technical game to where a lot of steps really just get skipped because of the jargon that we as players have created. Where like that's honestly where a lot of effects and timings and stuff are being missed because we have the wrong understanding of what we're actually saying to each other.
Yeah. I've even found myself not exactly being a big fan of when people say, like, this monster is, oh, it's just Stratos. That
Yeah.
comes up a lot. Because, like, I get it. There are a lot of monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! That, like, when they're normal summoned, they can use their effect and, like, search a card. So that isn't wrong, but oftentimes it's not quite like
But you
that.
also got to think of how they turn to, because Stratos searches elemental hero monster, right?
Yeah, and, like, some cards
They've
aren't
been
like that.
using Stratos as a card that can search any card. Like I summon it, okay, that is a Stratos. Not really, because this card can search a spell, trap, or monster. It can search anything from the archetype.
Yeah.
So it's not even really.
And also,
a
there's like the normal
Stratos.
special summon distinction.
Yeah, so
like
it's-
Stratos gets its effect on both, but like some monsters only search when they're normal summoned or only when they're special. And so you'll hear people say like, "Oh, this is just my Stratos." Because and to play devil's advocate, right? There's so much going on in Yu-Gi-Oh! These days. Like the card text is really, really long, and there's just a lot of moving parts, and time is limited.
Yeah.
So I get why somebody might, kind of just like quick generalizations help you get through. Like, if you play this card, I've never played against your archetype, and you play it, and I'm just like, what's that do? Oh, it's a Stratos for my spells and traps. I'm like, okay, I'll Valor it. Like,
Yeah.
it's, in people's defense, like, it gets by.
And
but,
then even with that, sometimes the whole effect is not explained because they'll be like, "Oh, that's my Stratos." So I'll be like, "Okay, I'll Valor Imperm. Oh, well, this card can't be targeted."
yeah, there's a lot of
now
that.
we got extra clauses. It wasn't
Yeah,
really
there's a lot
there
of-
at first.
And also, like, I've even heard, like, of some people, a lot of these cards maybe don't even search on summon, but rather this search is like an ignition effect, and so it's like, not actually just when, and it gets weird when you're just saying it's a Stratos, because that's a generalization.
That's a very blanket statement.
Another one that's come up a lot, like, for me is, like, people sort of saying, like, I chain something, I chain to the summon.
You don't
Like,
chain
like,
to
I
the
chain to the summon.
If the summon doesn't start a chain, you're not technically chaining to the summon. Which you're still not. You're chaining to the effect.
Yeah, it's that, and that's always weird to me, because, like, I think in a lot of players' defense, it's, for the most part, like, functionally still is the same thing in people's heads.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that they're saying it in like I'm trying to cheat type of way. Because if, like, the monster is successfully summoned and the game states open, you can activate a card, and then, like, the other things can activate. So it will form a chain. So to say, like, just that I'm chaining it isn't such a sin.
It's not wrong until it's wrong, and now you're confused that why it's wrong. Because it's literally worked the 19 out of the other 20 times.
Yep. And Solemn is one that comes up a lot. There's the age-old, like, can you, you can't Solemn Judgment, this thing. But I think more than anything now, I've heard more people, like, there's a lot of confusion around, like, so there's Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning and Solemn Judgment. And they can all negate, like, 3 different things. And, like, there's a little bit of overlap between some of them in some cases. But, like, sometimes people will just be asking, like, can I Solemn that? And they won't specify what they mean. So it's just like, oh, he just made this, he Monster Reborn this thing. Can I Solemn that? And they'll even ask at a period of time when, like, you can't, like, it's already kind of, like, because if, like, I use Monster Reborn and I bring back this monster, and now my opponent's, like, asking, can I Solemn that? Well, no, but, like, whether or not you even could varies based on the Solemn card you're talking about.
Is.
And even if you're talking about the ones that can, it would have had to, like, Monster Reborn, and it's
it's
technically
also
too late
been,
to even
like,
ask that.
A lot of cases were like newer players where it's like they didn't know they had to use Solemn Judgment on the Monster Reborn.
Yeah, that's
so like once the monster
thing.
hits the field, it's like they're trying to Solemn down. It's just like,
And as a judge, like, I think you can end up in a really sticky,
they're trying to just explain
like, say
why
that you
or why
can or
not
can't
you
do
can't.
stuff. And it kind of makes me think about how, like, now Konami seems like I don't know how many of you guys, like, read sort of the judge policy docs and stuff, but for those who do, they've been kind of tightening up on, like, what judges are even really supposed to be saying. Like, because for a long time, I could, like, call a judge over, can I, like, Solemn Judgment that? And it used to be, like, judges would say, like, oh, like, you can. Like, judges might say that. But now Konami's really been like, we don't want judges saying you can or can't do anything until you try to do it.
To do something.
And, you can argue that maybe that, well, it's not fair, but, like, because at that point, like they're giving you help. It's a tricky one, and I think a lot of it just ultimately comes down to the fact that jargon can make this game more ambiguous than it probably needs to be. There's others, like hand trap's one that I haven't liked.
I don't like the proc stuff. I don't even know what card game they came from, but it's like
Is that like a Magic the Gathering thing, or like
I don't know where it came from.
People saying proc,
and I'm just like
that procs my effect.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, bro, where did this terminology even come from? Like, we've been saying if my effect activates or not for decades now. Why do we need this new lingo? Like, it either activates or don't. I don't need to know proc. I don't need to ever say proc.
Sometimes I get really petty, and it's not petty, but like
Yeah,
we've judged these events, and so like you know what people mean, but like I've even gotten to the point where I don't even like when players say like swing. I really because swing for 34, but like no, like I declare an attack. Like it's again in 95% of cases saying swing is fine. Everyone knows what you mean. It works as intended. No one's happy or sad or mad or whatever. Like it just works. But like sometimes I've had people just be like swing, and they'll kind of pick up the card and just do this thing, and it's like, and then someone tries to activate stuff, and they're like, oh no, you can't. Like I've already declared the attack. But it's like, well, did you? You didn't actually say anything about that, and so
it just skips.
Yeah, people are kind of like skipping the things. You've said before, like people who like normal summon effect.
Yeah, like
it's like one thing.
Okay, for most, I'm pretty sure most I don't know. I've been playing trap dolls now for a long time. I have 4 or 5 cards set, and they'll just go like normal summon effect, and it's just like you've already picked your deck up, and you're getting ready to search. Like, bro, I have 4 cards set. One is a solemn judgment. The monster has to be successfully summoned first. Like, it's just the game is not normal summon effect. Okay, now I'm searching. Like, no, I have a chance to solemn this.
Yeah, and I think like ultimately a lot of it's going to come down to at your own local card shop or whatever, it's probably just best to like follow the game's rules as intended and try to like avoid jargon as much. I think it comes down to like also, you know, local judges need to make sure they're explaining things in game terms, not in what you've heard terms.
Because also another thing, Konami doesn't like these terms either.
Yeah, Konami will never.
They don't
really like them, and they don't speak in those terms. So players can get upset. Like Konami said, you know.
But I mean, like it's just honestly a real thing. Like
it's one place where I hope that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel can actually provide some assistance here, because I know a lot of people are going to be playing this game when it comes out, and it might help to clear up some stuff. I mean, I know it's a simulator and some people don't like the whole like, oh, Sims like play for you, but at least they'll maybe help people identify like when you can or can't activate things or kind of what the idea of like an open game state means. I don't think it's going to solve all the problems. I think that's obviously there's a social aspect to this game, but I hope it can help. So.
Oh, and lethal. I forgot about lethal.
Yeah, lethal's a new term.
Lethal's a newer term. I'm just like.
I swing for lethal.
Yeah, like we've been saying. I've been trying to put game on board or something like that. Like, I'm kind of cool with putting game on board. I'm trying to put 8,000 on board, whatever. Oh, I can't go for lethal. Where did that come from? What does that mean?
Like, the only excuse I'll give people with that is that, like, at least they're not, like, claiming an activity. Like, for me, like, it's worse when people are, like, literally just saying, like, I'm solemning this. Because, like, that's, like, an activated thing. Like, if it's swing for lethal, that's kind of more like you're just talking aloud, I suppose. Playing devil's advocate, I'm not saying, you know, but I don't really like that some of these terms have found their way into the game because, like, new people hear them, and I think the confusion.
They just run with them.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Have people at home, I'm sure you have.
Oh, and I know. So I wonder if it's, like...
I think every card shop's
more so region locked. I'm not region locked, but, like...
different places have their jargon.
Different regions.
And I think it's even sloppier. So you go to a regional, because like your locals, we all say this, and then like you go to the regional, and like everyone here is saying this, and yeah.
Like what was that? It was actually one event we went to. Which one was that? I think that was the 3v3.
Something in Texas or something. I'm not really sure.
Was it Atlanta 3v3 or something?
Yeah,
like
YCS Atlanta.
But we played some people, and it was like what they was gonna scrap us or scrape us or something like that.
I mean, at least that's more like just.
And I'm saying like it's like that was probably like a region thing, like a based
regional.
on like area.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm just like. I don't know what that like. I can context clues figure out what I think they're saying. It's like I've never heard that in Yu-Gi-Oh terms before.
Right. Yeah. So I want to know. I mean, how do people feel about this? Like, is this something that you think is a big problem, or are we just sitting here whining for no good reason?
Arguing semantics and
Yeah,
stuff.
because I mean, like, I think that there's. So I think it's not great. I think like there needs to be a more conscious effort to play things properly. And my last thing too on that, don't get mad at people who do try to play the game. I know there's sometimes like a bit of a stigma with like, oh, he's such a stickler for the rules or like, whatever. But play the game
I'm actually
properly.
being respectful. I'm giving you time to respond and chain or whatever you want to do. I'm respecting that you have cards and possibly plays.
So, anyways, I guess we've gone on long enough on it.
But also like comment down the different jargon y'all have too, because I really want to know if it's like different regions. Stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious about this. Is there like a thing at your locals that like nowhere else?
Yeah, because
really
I might just want to be like one day just be like, you know what, I don't care, and I'm just gonna start using everyone's language and just
we'll take their
them.
language and we'll
I'm
take it
just
to
gonna
our
start
card
saying
shop
random
and
stuff.
then ruin things even more.
It's gonna be fun.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Best turn.